I have no loyalty to the World Wrestling Federation. I've only got loyalty to good old JR.
Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update.
Jim Ross, you know, man, here's a guy that really paid his dues, you know, working back in the territory. I think you got to start like back in around 1974.
I left school early, mistake. I took a job for $150 a week, all in, no benefits of any kind. I was an independent contractor getting $150 a week, and married. And it shut down the trips to the mall, I can promise you.
Yeah.
So I started there. I was the other promoter was a blind man named Leroy McGurk, star wrestler in his day, All-American college wrestler. He had one eye in college. He lost the other eye in a car accident in the early 50s. The story, the bottom line of that is I was his driver. I'd never ridden in a Cadillac. Now I'm driving one. $150 a week, pal.
He drove Leroy around, so he paid his dues that way. He also ended up driving around a couple of the baby faces that worked there. They really smartened him up, not giving away anything. But he got that big, that's right when the UWF was starting to take off, too, and he caught a big break with the Mid-South back then. I
was on the ring crew. I refereed.
He did everything.
I
you
did
worked
publicity.
Your way up.
Yeah, I wrote stories, promoted markets, but I wanted to be on the air.
Yeah.
And so then we go to Shreveport to tape TV for our show, our weekly shows. And the announcer never showed up. He was on vacation. Somebody forgot to tell the promoter. And so now they got no play-by-play guy. Ain't like you can go in the weather department and get hey, what are you doing? All right, go on in and do some wrestling. You know, nobody supposed to do that. So consequently, I get elected. Cowboy Bill knew I wanted to be a broadcaster. So, okay, kid, here's your shot.
Thank you very much, Boyd. It's certainly a pleasure to be here in this great state. And there's everywhere.
Of course, he worked for NWA, he worked for WCW, he worked for WWF. And I got to meet and talk and hang out with a couple of times Jim Ross when I was in Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
I got to think you're still on Cloud 9.
Cloud 9, don't even describe how I feel. This is great.
That's when he was dealing with and overcoming his Bell's palsy. He took a break from being on TV and WWF at the time, WWE, whatever.
Let me tell you how warm-hearted Mr. McMahon is. He fired my ass.
And he come in for Smoky Mountain, done some work with Les Thatcher, another great announcer who could have easily been on this list. But Jim Ross is on here, and Jim probably could have been a lot higher. Some say that Jim is probably the number one.
Jim Ross is the single greatest wrestling announcer there ever was. That's the
We have a reason we do our own list our way, you know, and that's just that, you know. It's our show. It's the Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze podcast, and Jeremy and I, we go through a list, we do some eliminations, and we add in and we take away or whatever. But you know, Jim comes in at 4. Good old JR, we'll say, comes in at 4, and I know he's great at what he does. But we have a reason for that, and you'll soon find out, especially if you're a fan of his show, you know how that works. But, yeah, Jim was really, really kind, really quiet when he worked in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I did a lot of production meetings, and, of course, again, he was overcoming a severe the Bell palsy and, you know, appearing on TV like he did, you know, and going through what he did. But just a very kind man, very fair man. And I found him to be a very honest man. I didn't have any real dealings with him in WWF when he got there, when he went back there, anything. I did speak to him. Always complete gentleman, but you know, I never had the opportunity to try out after that with them, but I did talk to him and was in negotiation with him at one point. It went the opposite direction with WCW, and I think it was best for me. But while he was in Smoky Mountain, what a complete gentleman he was and a professional, and everyone knows what a great announcer he is.
No one could talk like Jim Ross, and I'm not talking about in front of the camera or during play-by-play. I'm talking about in meetings. And I envied that.
Just done the New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom 13. I would imagine he done that this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he might be in negotiations to work some for either the NWA or for the All Elite Wrestling. I'm not sure, because I know he still does some work for WWF as well, or WWE. And that's all I kind of got to say about Jim. But good old JR.
Yep. So, yeah, my knowledge of Jim Ross definitely started with the UWF.
Whoa! Jim Cornette, the Rock and Roll Express. Jim Cornette has had his face slammed in the cake.
I would have put him higher, and I know a lot of people say he's the greatest announcer of all time. I don't like that bombastic style.
This Milkomania is running wild.
I realize that's just me being a cranky old. I get that. But, you know, like, I think he had a great voice. He typically knew the names of every hold and maneuver and position and everything. I just don't like when you stop calling the match to scream out the name and the move 5 times in a row.
Twisted fake, swanton, what is it doing?
It just doesn't do anything for me. Now, that being said, you'll notice that he made a living calling matches, and I'm sitting on my ass in a home studio. You know.
No, he's great. Good old JR is great, and he could have been up higher. I don't think he could have been up any higher on our list than the next person.
All right, so everybody, you can go get JR's book, Slobberknocker, by going to tinyurl.com/BBJimRoss. That will take you right to the Amazon page where you can purchase his book. I know Bobby has been reading that book and has liked it quite a bit. Other wrestling fans I have talked to have liked it. Also, at this time would be a good time to remind you that this show is sponsored by 2 of Bobby's own books. You can get the first one, Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel, by going to tinyurl.com/blazebook1. You can also get I Kicked Out on 2, The Education of a Wrestler, by going to tinyurl.com/blazebook2. That will take you right to the Amazon page. You can pick them up right there, digital or physical copies. They are great gifts. If you are wrestling fans who have not read it, there are a lot of great stories. Bobby is a guy who's been in the business and around the business for a while and has met people and has great shit to share about all of them.